Hello everyone, my name is Loco and welcome to another World of Warcraft video. Now today we're gonna be talking about Warlords of Draenor, and with Warlords of Draenor, whoa, only about a couple of months really from releasing. It's somewhere in November if I'm not mistaken. It's only really a couple of months from releasing, and right now would be a very good time to start thinking about the actual class that you're gonna be playing in Warlords of Draenor. Now, in this video, I'm going to be talking about the reasoning and the choices that I have made choosing a class in Warlords of Draenor. And hopefully it will make your way of choosing the class a little bit easier. Now, important is to note that there's likely, if you're going to look up information about the classes right now on the internet, there's very likely not going to be any major switches anymore, except for maybe like the damage output and all that sort of stuff that is really going to be still balancing out right now on the Warlords of Draenor beta. However, I don't really see any major changes happening anymore to the playstyle of the classes, and honestly, that is going to be the most important thing when choosing a class. Simply put, what class is the most fun? So, I personally, I plan on playing Warlords of Draenor, but mostly in a more casual way. I really want to be finding a guild where I can maybe raid maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and where I can sort of be replaceable, because I play a lot of games. As you guys know, I play StarCraft, Hearthstone, Diablo, Heroes of the Storm. I wanna play other games as well, so I don't really get to play a whole lot of World of Warcraft, but I still thoroughly enjoy it. That's a big English word, but I still really enjoy the game, and I want to be raiding and making some progression in the game as well, and still making sure that I have some good gear going into Warlords of Draenor, but also going into the actual expansion and progressing through the expansion. So I want to be playing a role in the game where I am somewhat easily replaceable without, everyone else losing their mind. So that basically already rules out any kind of tanking role. I mean, if you're gonna be in a raiding guild, a tanking role is pretty much completely pointless if you aren't going to be playing every single raid, right? Like, a tank is one of the most major components in a team. Meaning that if you're gonna be a tank, you're gonna be expected to be there pretty much every single raiding night. So that's not really a possibility for me. Even though I quite enjoy tanking, I wouldn't say it's my favorite one. But, knowing that I'm not gonna be able to play every single night, and I'm not gonna be playing as hardcore as some of the other players will, it's gonna be very difficult for me to be playing a tank. So that's basically ruled out already. Next up, I had to make the decision whether or not I want to be playing a healer or whether or not I want to be playing a damage dealer. Now, at that point, either really is possible if you're going to be raiding in like a clan or like a guild or whatever. Like, it's going to be possible to play either, because both are quite easily replaceable. And I decided to simply go with the fact that I enjoy dealing damage more. That's just sort of like a given with me. I just do enjoy dealing damage more. So what I decided to go for is a damage dealing class. Now, there's a couple of advantages for that. One of them being that it's relatively easy to solo with most damage dealing classes, because you're gonna be using your raiding gear while just doing quests and while doing dailies and all that sort of stuff. And you're just gonna be able to really focus on dealing damage, and you don't really need to do anything else besides that. Now, I know that in Warlords of Draenor they're gonna be switching out some gear pieces and whatnot when you switch talents. Some of the gear actually changes with it, but still, damage dealing, you only really need one PvP set and one PvE set, and it's just a little bit more convenient. Now, the downside of picking a DPS class is that, like I said, you are pretty easily replaceable. So unless you do a ton of damage and you're like significantly higher than the rest, which is pretty much impossible to call right now for Warlords of Draenor because they are still tweaking the numbers. But you are quite easily replaceable, and if you don't show up, someone else will take your role gladly. Whereas with a tank, for example, you will be able to pretty much get an invite no matter what if you are a solid tank. Now, that's one of the downsides. Another one would be, if you're going to be doing dailies and you're going to be playing more casually like I'm going to, it's gonna be kind of tricky playing a damage dealing class, because let's say you want to do like a daily dungeon, or you want to be playing like the looking for raid stuff. It is going to take quite a bit longer to find a group as a damage dealer. As a tank, you oftentimes just have instant queues, whereas with a damage dealer, you sometimes need to wait up to like an hour. At least that's been my experience. I need to wait somewhere between like 30 to 60 minutes, depending on like the week. That is one of the big downsides. Now, at that point, there's a couple of classes that really stood out to me. The very first one is actually the class you're seeing in the background right now as well. It's going to be the Hunter. The Hunter is the class that I played before the game even, you know, the Hunter was the class that I made as soon as the game came out. It's my very first character that I ever made, a Night Elf Hunter. And it's the class that I've been maining ever through Wrath of the Lich King. And, you know, I didn't really play all that much afterwards, but I've also been maining it a little bit in Mist of Pandaria, I could say. I didn't really play very much Cataclysm. But that would be one of my options. Then the next one would be, for example, a Shaman. I always quite enjoy doing range damage, so a Shaman is a pretty good choice. And obviously all the other classes can deal damage as well, but those are really the ones that stood out to me. And then recently I've also leveled up a mage all the way to level 90, just to make sure that I can start doing some damage on that as well. Now, I've tried all the different classes out, only Warlords of Draenor beta, and I just, you know, made the like 100 character, or like the level 100 characters, and I just started messing around with them. And what I found really quickly is that the real classes that I enjoy the most are definitely the Hunter and the Mage, alright? The Mage is a class that I've recently leveled, like I said, and it's one of the classes that I always really enjoyed because they are so good in like PvP and PvE, and they're just really solid all around with all the different talents and the specializations they have. They play out really differently, whereas if you play a Hunter, you know, even though you can be switching specs around, it is still going to play relatively the same way. A lot of the skills still carry over. And it's not like going from frost to fire or from fire to arcane, which is a huge difference. So for me, it really came down to either a Hunter or a Mage, because I want to be playing a ranged DPS class, and because I want to be, you know, playing a little bit more casual than I have done in the previous expansions. So that's really the two classes that stood out to me. Now, I hadn't played my Hunter for I think over a year. After playing it for years and years and years as my main character in Warlords, or if in World of Warcraft, and I simply didn't play it as much anymore because I kind of got a little bit bored of it, and I just played it a ton, and at some point it got a little bit lame, and you know, I decided to just go with the Mage. However, earlier this week, I decided to log in on my Hunter and just simply give it a try. Like, you know, give it a spin and see if there's anything that changed about the class, or if I just find it fun. And I opened up my character, I set up my talents, I picked up my favorite spirit beasts, and I just went into looking for raid class, or looking for raid group, and I actually had the time of my life. I enjoyed the Hunter so much more than the Mage, and I don't know if it's because the class is relatively difficult to play compared to a Mage, because there's so many, you know, different aspects that you need to do if just not controlling your pet and whatnot. And I just really got excited for playing my Hunter. So I've been playing that ever since. And I don't know if it is because it is going to be my very first character that I ever made in World of Warcraft, or simply because I enjoy the playstyle more than any other classes that I have tried. But honestly, every time I go back to a Hunter, which by the way, you know, is just the class that I am most comfortable with, and even though I have the most hours played on it, I have just a ton of fun. So for me, going into Warlords of Draenor, I'm going to be picking my Hunter. I'm going to be leveling that as my very first character all the way to level 100, and I'm going to start raiding with that character as well. Partly because it's my first character, partly because I already sunk so many hours into it, and I have the spirit beast, and I have the achievements, and I have the rare items, and you know, all these things, but also simply because, you know, I enjoy it so much more than all of the other classes so far. Now, I do still have my level 90 boost from pre-purchasing Warlords of Draenor, and I'm not completely sure who I'm gonna be spending it on, or what character I'm gonna be spending it on, but I would not be surprised if it is going to be maybe another ranged damage dealer, because really that seems to be my favorite type of class. So hopefully this video helped you out at least a little bit in choosing a main for Warlords of Draenor. Please let me know right below that like button in the comment section what you guys are going to be playing in Warlords of Draenor, and if it is going to be the same class that you're already playing in Mist of Pandaria, alright? Maybe you're actually going to be switching it up, who knows? Anyways, let me know what you guys' thoughts are, and other than that, I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye!